Assalamu alaikum. It's Homa Islam, your O levels Islamiyat teacher. Today, the topic that we are going to discuss is Battle of Uhud from the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam from P1 chapter 3. Your paper 1 of Islamiyat, O levels Islamiyat, and it's chapter 3. Battle of Uhud occurred in 3 AH. If you can remember, in 2 AH, the Battle of Badr took place. So, Battle of Uhud was a revenge for the Battle of Badr, and in the Christian calendar, 625 AD. Makkan's revenge for Badr. The commander Abu Sufyan, whose wife is Hind, and Hind was the daughter of Utbah, she hired Washi to kill Hamza. So Abu Sufyan, now he's the commander of the troops at the time of Uhud, whereas previously he was the reason for the Battle of Badr taking place because he was bringing back a caravan from Syria, and he thought he would be ambushed, so he was the one who called forces. But then again, he called them off. He was the chief after 10 tribal chiefs were killed in Badr. So Makkan army was three. Makkan army was 3,000 in number and had 700 coats of mail, in other words, armor, and 3,000 camels and 200 horses. Makkans reached Uhud and camped at Wadi Aqiq. War Council Majlis Ashura. Senior companions wanted to stay to fight in Medina. Young Muslims wanted to fight outside Medina. So a war council was set, a Majlis Ashura was set, and the senior companions, they agreed to fight inside Medina, but the younger, more youthful Muslims, they wanted to fight outside of Medina. And Ijma was decided to fight outside of Medina. The Muslim army strength was 1,000 in number. Again, the Meccan army is 3 times the strength of the Muslim army. And the Muslims only had 100 coats of mail. Abdullah bin Ubay, chief of the hypocrites, took stance that their view was not accepted. He created sedition in the army. Now, Abdullah bin Ubay, he was known as Rais al-Munafiqeen, the chief of the hypocrites. Why was he a hypocrite? Before Prophet Muhammad came to Medina, the Medinites were about to make him the chief of Medina, the head of state. But when the Prophet came in, naturally, he was made the head of state. So Abdullah bin Ubay had a natural grudge against the Prophet. He claimed to have accepted Islam, but from inside he had not accepted Islam. So what did he do? He brought up this issue that because the common interest of the senior companions was not taken care of, that's why we should not go outside to Medina. We're going to lose. It's just walking into death. It's a death trap. What he did, he was created sedition in the army. Sedition is when you're going against the leader of the army. 300 Muslims separated from the army with their horses. Remember, the Muslims are 1,000 in number, so if 300 are taken away due to the sedition of Abdullah bin Ubay, then Muslims were only left with 700. Camped at a higher ground of western slope of Uhud. Muslims camped at the higher ground of the western slope of Uhud. Muslim archers. Now, this is a very important part of the Battle of Uhud. It was these Muslim archers who were deployed at a hillock, a slight, raised place, not a mountain, but it's just a hillock, a slight hill. 50 Muslim archers were stationed at a hill to defend the pass. In other words, from this place, they could see the pass that was entering into the valley. And they were stationed there under the command of Abdullah bin Jubair. He was the commander of those 50 archers. And the Prophet ﷺ gave orders, very strict orders were given. If you see, this is a hadith, you can add it to your work to score 8, 9, or 10 in your work. If you see us prevail and start to take spoils, do not come to assist us. And if you see us get vanquished and birds eat from our heads, do not come to assist us. So, in other words, no matter what happens, you're not going to leave your post. In other words, your post on top of the mountain, or hill, sorry. If you could see, this is the map, and you can see the hillock, the small hillock Can you see it? This is the small hillock that I'm talking about. This in the here were the archers deployed, and if you can see, the Prophet camped here. It was in the depression of the mountain, and then here are the Muslim army, and this is the Meccan army. Good. Okay. Okay, so if you can see this diagram, Qureshi infantry was in the center, and then the right wing cavalry division had Khalid bin Walid, KBW. You'll see that many times in the wars. KBW was the right wing commander of the cavalry, and then there was the left wing cavalry also siding to the left side of the Qureshi infantry, and their commander was Ikramah bin Abi Jahl. And then they also brought along female singers to boost them up, like cheerleaders to boost when a match is going on. It was just exactly like that. They brought their women so that they could sing and encourage their male to go and fight. Individual combat again, like just exactly the same like as Badr. First war of words took place. Talha ibn Abi Talha Abdari and Usman was sent, brother of Talha. Ali killed Talha and Hamza killed Usman. So who was sent from the side of the Makkans? Talha ibn Abi Talha and Abdari. Sorry, Talha ibn Abi Talha Abdari. You can only just remember the word Talha ibn Abi Talha. And Usman was sent. In other words, he was the brother of Talha. But Ali killed Talha and Hamza killed Usman. These are the things that you're supposed to remember. General combat. Makkan's cavalry tried to attack from behind, but archers attacked from above. Remember, they came and they tried to attack from the behind, but the archers, because they were on the hillock, they could see everything that was going on. So they attacked from above. Prominent figures Ali, Hamza, Zubair, and Abu Dujana were the main fighters and who were fully in combat. Muslim army advanced forward to the Qurayshi camp. The Qurayshis started fleeing the camp. In other words, when the Muslims started coming nearer to the Qurayshi camp, then the Makkans, they started fleeing the camp. And they left their belongings behind. The war booty was what they left behind, and they ran away. Muslims started collecting war booty, or you can call it spoils of war. Now, what happens is that the archers see Muslims collecting the booty and they think we've won. Whereas, remember, the Prophet said, don't even move, even if you see vultures pulling from our body. Counterattack. Archers left their posts. Why did they leave their post? To go and collect the booty with them. Only 12 stayed at the hilltop with Abdullah bin Jubair, because Abdullah bin Jubair kept on reminding them that we were ordered not to move until we are ordered. So he kept on, telling them not to go. But then only 12 archers remained with Abdullah bin Jubair. The rest all, imagine how many were there? 50. And only 12 stayed. The rest ran down, busy collecting war booty. KBW, in other words, Khalid bin Walid, attacked from the pass that was now unprotected. Remember, they were there to protect that specific pass. So Khalid bin Walid, along with along with Ikramah, they came and they attacked from that pass because it was unprotected. Muslim army was taken by surprise and started fleeing up Uhud mountain. Now, when the army was attacked from all sides, because they didn't expect it, they all started fleeing. They started climbing up Mount Uhud. The Prophet ﷺ was attacked. It's a very sad incident in which the Prophet was attacked severely. The Quraysh got the opportunity to attack the Prophet ﷺ. Only a few loyal companions left with him to protect him from stones, arrows, and spears. Amara, female fighting to protect. There's a hadith in which the Prophet says that wherever I looked, I would see Amara fighting to protect me. And remember, this is the same Amara who came in the second pledge of Aqaba. The Prophet was wounded and bleeding, so he fell down unconscious. A rumor spread that he had been martyred. In other words, one was that a link of his armor, his helmet, got shoved into his cheek, and somebody threw a huge stone towards him, And as soon as that stone came and struck his head, although it was in a helmet, it still created a concussion. And so when he fell down unconscious, a rumor spread that he had been martyred. And then the Makkans made sure that they were spreading it even more. Muslims' army heard and lost hope. All began to retreat in sadness. Now, this is a verse in the Quran which describes this, the Uhud, mishap that happened. Indeed, Allah fulfilled His promise to you when you initially swept them away by His will. Then your courage weakened and you disputed about the command and disobeyed. After Allah had brought victory within your reach, who disobeyed? The archers. Some of you were after worldly gains. Who were the ones who were after worldly gains? Those archers that came down to collect booty, while others desired a heavenly reward. The ones that chose to stay, what did they want? They didn't want the reward of this world. They wanted the reward of the next. He denied you victory over them as a test. Now, first they got victory, then it was taken away. Why? As a test and a trial from Allah. He has pardoned you, and Allah is gracious to the believers. Although this was a test and they failed, but even still, because they're new Muslims, they're still learning, so Allah pardoned them. When the Qurayshi leader Abu Sufyan wanted to leave, he went to the top of the mountain and shouted loudly, saying, "You have done a fine work. Victory in war goes by turns." In other words, first you won Badr, now we win Uhud. Today is in exchange for the day of Badr. Show your superiority, Hubal. That is, Hubal was the name of an idol. That is, vindicate your religion. The messenger told Umar ibn Khattab to go up and answer him and say, Allah is most high and most glorious. We are not equal. Our dead are in paradise. Yours are in hell. At this answer, Abu Sufyan said to Umar, "Come up here to me." The messenger told him to go and see what Abu Sufyan was up to. When he came to Abu Sufyan said, "I adjure you by God, Umar, we have killed Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. By Allah, you." And then what did Umar say? "By Allah, you have not. He is listening to what you are saying right now." Umar replied. Abu Sufyan said, "I regard you as more truthful and reliable than Ibn Qamiya," referring to the latter's claim that he had killed Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ibn Qamiya was the one that threw the stone and what made the Prophet fall down unconscious. Now, the wounds that the Prophet suffered, he had a wound on a cheek. A stone thrown by Ibn Qamiya wounded the Prophet's cheek, and two rings from his helmet pierced into his cheek. Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah moved the links by pulling out with his teeth. He also lost a tooth while he was trying to pull out the links from his cheek. The Prophet ﷺ also lost a tooth. He had a cut on his lip, and he had a huge wound on the forehead, which made him fall unconscious. Now, how to remember that Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah was the one who pulled out the link. Jarrah in Arabic means operation, and how I remember the name who pulled out the link. When you're pulling a link out, what are you doing? You're basically operating. So Jarrah and operation and pulling out the links, they all sync together. So that's how you can remember. Where she killed Hamza by a spear attack. This is one thing you're supposed to mention in Uhud, that where she was the one who was hired by Hind, and he killed Hamza by a spear attack. It's like a javelin, basically a long javelin with a knife at the end. He was defending the Prophet ﷺ. Hind chewed the liver of a mutilated Hamza. Hind did not just chew the liver; she mutilated his body, cut the ears, cut the nose, cut the genitals. This is forbidden in Islam, but she enjoyed it, and she also took out the liver and chewed it. That's so disgusting. Muslims. Effect of Uhud on Muslims. Many Muslims lost their lives. Muslims lost their prestige. Muslims learned a lesson. They can't always win relying on Allah. One needs one's own integrity also. So what did they learn? Because in Badr, remember, they won. So maybe they got a bit lenient and overconfident. That's why they left the place on where the archers were supposed to remain. So that's one thing that they could learn, that you can't always just rely totally on Allah. You have to manage something on your own also. Muslims, of course, they lost their prestige, because remember, when did they gain their prestige? When they won the Battle of Badr. So as soon as The Battle of Uhud takes place, they lose, so that proves that they lose their prestige also. Love of worldly benefit caused defeat. It's a humanistic weakness. We can't actually blame them. Remember, everybody was collecting, so they thought that, okay, we might as well collect it also, but this is a human weakness, and they were told not to do it. Mortality of the Prophet revealed as a fact. Remember, the Prophet ﷺ, when he fell unconscious and everybody thought he had died, then a verse was revealed that if the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is killed or dies a natural death, will you all turn away from Islam? You were not in Islam for just the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You are in Islam for Allah, and Allah will remain. This is the verse that was revealed. وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ الرُّسُلُ أَفَإِنْ إِنَا مات أو قتل انقلبتم على أعقابكم ومن ينقلب على عقبيه فلن يضر الله شيئا وسيجزي الله الشاكرين. Muhammad is no more than a messenger. Other messengers have gone before him. If he were to die or to be killed, would you regress into disbelief? Those who do so will not harm Allah whatsoever, and Allah will reward those who are grateful. Thank you. It's from Huma Islam.